Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope everyone's enjoying this daylight savings time 1 hour then later hangout. Feel free to raise your hand, come on up, say hi, say what you've been up to, what you're looking forward to next week. Got lots of good stuff in the pipeline this month for you guys. Crazy amount of stuff, actually. It's pretty wild. FA is coming on up.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you? How are things
I
this
was in
week?
here. Oh, things
How
are
are
good. Well, pretty good. We had a bit of a weird week on our side. We're totally ready to launch AM Ghost and get those friends for AM Ghost, but then Aave launched V3 on us and told me literally like 30 minutes before we were ready to deploy the contract. They're like, "Oh, by the way, you should use V3 instead." So that has caused some delays and threw us into a bit of a pickle. We were totally ready to ship it, but V3 is cool. So we are kind of looking through the contracts now and seeing what's changed, and not too much, but a couple things kind of have slowed us down a little bit. It's kind of annoying, but other than that, very good.
V3 is going to be interesting because from what I understand, there's going to be some cross-chain abilities after that. I wonder what that's going to do for Ghost. Like, it'll be interesting to see that.
Yeah, yeah, that's like one of their biggest features. I mean, I guess they're gonna deploy like I don't know. I don't know how that would work. Like if Mark Zeller comes on, we should ask him how V3 will work with Ghost, because yeah, I don't really understand that much. Like, are they gonna deploy AM Ghost on Phantom, or probably not, right? Like you need to get the asset deployed there for it to be added.
Yeah,
We're
yeah. I'm not
we're
like
only
I'm not
only
sure
waiting to
how
see.
they're. Yeah, I'm not sure how their like cross-chain part of their like their smart contract works. But I'm assuming
Mhm.
there'd have to be liquidity on both sides, right?
Yeah, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Hey, Anik, what's
Hey, yeah,
going on?
how you doing, man?
Yeah. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
Good
Pretty
evening.
good, pretty good. Uh, I just want to say hi and also encourage anybody, guild leaders, to submit your details about your guild to fireball.gg, because there will be some unique. We are developing some unique capabilities, and it will be beneficial for any guild.
Oh, you want to give
And
a
pretty
quick
much,
preview? My interest is piqued.
yeah. A bit later, but
Okay,
also pretty excited about the game and preparing a lot of new stuff for to launch it along the game release.
cool.
So we will develop along with you guys, and yeah, a lot of new things are coming from Ordin GG Guild.
Beautiful.
I'm
Are
just
you guys
checking it out
gonna?
right now, actually. I'm on fireball.gg. Looks incredible. You've added in quite a few things since I was here last time. Because you've had the client and the raffle calculator that I've used regularly. Now you have a tab that says guilds, and you
Yeah,
have all these guilds in there. It looks really interesting.
that's cool. There's a lot of guilds.
Yeah.
There are so many. Super cool.
I really think like encouraging guild are cool, because with guild you actually you're receiving like team fully, like development or other kind of, or like design or other specialities team. It's very beneficial for the DAO.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the topics that's been touched on recently when I was talking to one of the game leads for YGG. He was talking about how, their intentions are to do mass coordination and collaboration with other guilds. I think that's going to be really important like once things really start get rolling, when we start actually building on the Gotchiverse and getting ready for like the great battles, it's going to be important to have coordination, between
Mhm.
guilds. And I think, building tools that allow for that is going to really make things a lot like easier to do that.
You know what is the coolest way to collaborate actually between the guilds is farm together. Like if you can agree on some alley crest, uh, you can farm together, and you basically have this event where you come together and hang up.
That's
I
really
don't know.
cool. So, sorry, go ahead.
But for this, probably part of your gotchi should be. But you can belong to a couple of guilds, right?
Oh yeah,
Depending on
your gotchis can belong to up to 7, although realistically, probably at the beginning, I think there's the highest levels we have right now are like level 20, level 21, so won't be able to get 7 quite yet. But yeah,
so
eventually you. Mhm.
so you can just agree on some item, say fireball, and another guild has the same, and you both come together farm. It's like very nice diplomatic mechanic. This crest thing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Have you were you around when I was kind of going over my idea for another way of how we could do the leaderboard for the guilds instead of doing an auction? Haven't had time to put that post out yet, but it will be pretty soon on the Dao forum. We've been running some
Unfortunately, I
numbers.
missed it.
You missed it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So right now, the way that we put in the Bible was with an auction that would happen every 3 months. But it seems like there was a lot of we knew this kind of going in, but there's some potential griefing situations where um, a a non-guild member could potentially spend a lot of glitter on a certain wearable and want to own that wearable for the next 3 months, and guilds that have kind of built their identity around that wearable would have to move, or have to spend more glitter to the get it back from that person or that entity. So it's an interesting model, and I think it's a cool use case for the GBM auction. But there was quite a bit of discussion in the community, and so we had another idea, so we went back and kind of fleshed it out a little bit more, which was more of a uh, so originally the idea was that one Gotchi lodge would only be able, like each wearable could only be used by one Gotchi lodge at a time, because that Gotchi lodge would own the crest. But in this other model, there would be unlimited number of Gotchi lodges, and any lodge could set a specific wearable that they want people to join their guild for. But the the leaderboard idea would come in basically every week. There would be a new fresh leaderboard that's created, and whichever guild Gotchi lodge and its members are on top of the leaderboard that week would have like a certain multiplier to how much their wearables are going to earn from Gotchi, from the guild channeling. And so what this would do is you'd have maybe potentially 10 fireball guilds, but only one of those guilds would actually end up being at the top of that leaderboard for that week and would have the biggest payout of Alchemica for that week. There could be potentially 100 guilds on the leaderboard, or 200 or 250. Probably wouldn't really wouldn't really want to go beyond that too much. Basically enough for one wearable type, one wearable ID. That's what kind of what I'm thinking. So we have
And what
about
is the
200.
criteria? What is the
What's that?
formula? What is the formula or criteria for leaderboard?
So the
How you
formula,
calculate
the criteria would be how much glitter your guild is spending within the game for that week, on in-game activities, or burning it for speeding up installations, Could be on public goods. It could be on spending to buy potions for your AP or your HP.
So basically, you're encouraging economy and development.
Yeah, so that one cool idea would be, like as the devs, we don't want to build this entire world out for the community. We want to build the tools for the community to then be able to build the world in their image. Like each area, each district, whatever, could look a little bit different. And so you could literally have tools for example, like crafting roads, improving roads, like creating more public transportation, creating like more foliage, putting trees down, like planting trees so they would grow over time. Basically beautifying your area, making your area more efficient, doing all sorts of like interesting things. And also with your guild itself, you would have you're in the Gotchi Lodge, you'll also be able to there'll be a bunch of various furniture and things you can put on your walls, but you could also spend glitter to like pimp out your lodge, basically, like make your lodge a really cool place to hang out and have social functions in. And so what that incentivizes is guilds to, instead of like taking their alchemica and dumping it on the market and extracting value, they would be LPing on the GAX and earning the glitter token, which they can then reuse within the game. Obviously, they could just sell the glitter token, or if they will have a longer term vision, they could continue spending it within the game to try and build up that position on the leaderboard. So that's kind of the other idea that we have for how this could potentially work with guild channeling, because
what I like about this idea is, well, first of all, you have Ghost, which is LP from with Dai, and with this model you encourage Alchemica / Ghost LP, right? So you
yes.
Sorry, a Ghost / Glitter, or first option.
Well, so yeah, on the GAX, we will definitely have Ghost to Alchemica pairs, and yeah, we'll most likely also have a Ghost to Glitter pair as well.
And Glitter is actually, as I understand, is like kind of, you pay it for acting in game, like doing moves in game, and so it's like activity in game. So with this, you encourage LP from Ghost to game activity, and I like this economy.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what? I actually really agree with that. Something that, as you were talking, that I thought was appealing to me as a content creator, I might actually take glitter as a currency for payment, because I can use that to like pimp out my lodge, like you said, and make it look really cool and, a unique place amongst other lodges. And so I could do that by, charging people in glitter for services that I might do in the Gotchiverse, whether it's creating a video or, just creating something, because there's not just content creators, there's artists, there's like these people could start using the glitter token as as a in-game currency almost. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and one thing we have alluded to is that potentially glitter could kind of take over from friends. We mentioned this probably on the last two hangouts, or I mentioned it a little bit, but if right now we have this single staking for Ghost, which is really popular, but the utility of friends is limited, and it's a little bit harder to expand that utility because it's an on-chain balance. It's not a token, whereas glitter is a token, and it's a little bit easier to use that for exchanging. For example, you could buy raffle tickets with it. You could do like other things within the game with your glitter that could add to its utility. So there is a potential chance we could kind of phase out friends and replace friends with glitter. Obviously, after we have a big blowout raffle to use up everyone's friends and have that big final event, because there are a lot of friends sitting around waiting for that raffle.
there's another benefit migrating from friend to glitter is that you can do the pair against a die, which means like millions of dollars per year for DAO, which in interest.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Yeah, it was mentioned in previous calls here.
Yeah, that would be pretty neat. I think there's a lot of benefits for sure. Oh, let's get Anthony up on here on stage. So that's kind of yeah, if that's what we're thinking. Glitter is such an interesting token. It really is, all these NFT games out there, they're all promising utility and they're all promising cool games and stuff, but I think at the end of the day, we're probably one of the only teams really, really building like a serious game around these tokens. And if this game does well, Glitter will be a pretty in-demand token because it's going to have a lot of utility within the game. So obviously Ghost will as well because it's going to be paired with all these tokens and it's the governance token. And then the Alchemica are going to be mainly for the crafting part. You're gonna get the Alchemica, you're gonna craft your installations, and Glitter will be more as a token that you'll be able to spend in game without doing any sort of like on-chain transactions. So Alchemica, you'll pick them up, you'll kind of transfer them on chain, whereas with Glitter, you might actually earn it on chain, but you could actually deposit it into the game and spend it within the game on different things. So it's kind of going the other way, the opposite of Alchemica.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I think the glitter token is something that I'm probably maybe at the beginning going to be like hoarding because I know people are going to use it to speed up their structures too, and it seems like the build time is in block time, right? So
Yeah.
some of these like higher level structures, they seem like they're going to take quite some time to build. Like I think maybe even like a month or more sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of them like the lodge. I think the lodge is probably a level 9 lodge is pretty slow. It's like it's a big structure. And the level 9 altars is pretty high up there as well. Those are the kind of the two biggest slowest installations. But those are going to also give you the the altar will give you the ability to unlock all the different level 9 installations, and the Gotchi Lodge it's just going to be, it also is going to unlock some things as well, higher level lodges, but it's also just going to be super pimped out. You'll be able to have like this super nice meeting room for your guild that people be able to walk in and just be like, wow, this is really nice. So there's definitely a little bit of prestige factor in there.
There's definitely always like in these kinds of games. Webb, I know you've played some games like this. Like there was one you mentioned before called Albion, and like people would buy like really expensive
Oh, you
items.
played Albion?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
I saw
So
the trailer for Albion. It seems like Aavegotchi in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty similar concept. I would say that it's more like it's less actiony and more like RuneScapey in the sense that you don't just like control wise, like it feels more like a yeah, I don't even really know how to best describe it, but it's definitely like a little bit of a different vibe. Like obviously the Aavegotchis tend to be more like 8-bit, like vintage type feel as far as like gameplay goes. So I expect the gameplay to feel a little bit more like that. But it's a lot of similarities, especially in the way that like it's designed and the way that like every sort of item is player crafted and player like gathered and then also like player distributed.
yeah, I mean, this actually brings up a good point that I was thinking about because in that game, I remember when you would use an item, it would get damaged, and then you would have to, your item would kind of like, if you kept using it, I think when it was damaged, you'd break it, and at that point it was useless. So you'd have to, you'd have this bar, and it would like wear down to a point where if you went and saw a person in like a town, they could like fix it for like a fee, and then your item would be like reconditioned. Is How are you guys thinking about like items in the game? Because obviously we don't want to be like breaking items because we're paying like real money for them, but also at the same time, there could be a mechanic, right, to kind of have some sort of a maintenance thing where you have to like get it repaired every once in a while, or like it wears down, so people aren't just like so certain items don't become like super OP. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, we did have, there's a thread on the DAO kind of talking about that, and from the research I've done and the games I've played, generally people hate repairing their items. Like it's not something that is really fun to do, and it's hard to make it fun. And it's especially difficult for Gotchi because we have our NFTs are 1155s, so there's no way to actually like fungibly tell which how often your sword has been used. All you could really do is show it based on what Aavegotchi it's been used by, and so we had a pretty good discussion in that chat, but ultimately um, didn't really think it was a great thing to pursue. We did, from that discussion, that we did have the kind of a kernel of an idea, which is the action points, which are more
Yeah.
finite, although they do recharge over time. And so there's always been this issue, which we so on chain, each wearable actually has a level that could be added, at which the Gotchi must be before the wearable can be equipped. So currently, all of them are 1 or 0. There's no requirement. Theoretically, we could have added a level requirement for like a level 20 Gotchi to be able to equip a link cube or something like a powerful item. But I mean, there was no level 20 Gotchis when we first created these items, so no one would have been able to equip it. It would have been pretty dumb. So that's why we didn't do that, although we do have the option on chain. And so there's always been this kind of tension, like, well, okay, if we have a super powerful item like a Hanzo katana, what's going to happen if a level 1 Gotchi equips that? And just like, should they even be able to wield it? Because it's such a powerful item. Most MMORPGs would not let you equip the game's most powerful item on a level 1 player. So ultimately, we obviously are not going to enforce that rule, but what we can do is we can have action points, the requirement for using that sword over and over again be considerably higher than like a common wearable. And so that if you are a level 1 and you want to continuously use your sword, you'll probably just need to have a nice stock of AP potions sitting around that you can just chug and chug and chug. So it will
Yeah.
be theoretically possible to use it, but it's kind of like a repair system in that you would have to use it and then you have to wait like a not insignificant amount of time for your AP to recharge to be able to use it again.
Nice.
That's really cool. I like that mechanic. And I guess there are going to be other ways to modify your AP as well, like through wearables.
Yep, there are certain wearables that will increase your AP capacity in addition to the traits that we've been discussing, which good to bring that up. If you guys haven't already, definitely go over to Snapshot here. I'll post the link, and let's see how this post is doing. We are 4.7 million ghost in, and so we're about halfway through quorum, and the vote has 5 more days, 4 or 5 more days. So probably will make it, but definitely if you're on the call listening, you're obviously tuned in. And if this does get to a core prop, there will be XP dropped for it. So definitely read through the post here and kind of get a feel for the traits, and then vote yes or no on whether you would like to update the traits based on the conversation. There's been a lot of different conversation happening in the chat here with many authors and many voices. So lots of really good changes proposed by the community to the traits that we initially came up with. And so if these are accepted as in the SIG prop, well, then we'll make the core prop probably have a pretty quick turnaround on that. And then these new traits would be voted into Gotchi canon for the Gotchiverse.
Could we quickly just because I'm looking at the traits right now? Could we just quickly go over the 4 that we're looking at and maybe just do because we just talked about AP and that makes so we're saying high energy gotchis are gonna have more like a higher AP, right, overall.
Action
Yeah,
points.
so here's the traits here. This is the proposed version. The old version is also in this this Dao post here. So yeah, low energy would give you more HP capacity, and HP is going to be used for obviously for hit points, but it'll also be reduced when your Gotchi is sprinting. So if you hold down Shift and you run, it's going to deplete your HP down to a certain point. What that certain point is, we haven't totally decided yet. It probably won't be 0. If obviously you can't run your Gotchi to death, but it'll probably be something like maybe a quarter or 50%. So it won't. We don't want the Gotchi to be in danger because it's out of breath. But yeah, we don't really want to have Gotchis edging at 1% health like to get the most boost of their stamina out. And the opposite with that would be high energy Gotchis will be able to do more. So they're going to be a bit more action oriented. They won't just be runners. They'll be actors. So they will have higher action point capacity, which will let them get a few more swings out of their weapon, or potentially when we introduce some form of teleportation, that's definitely going to consume energy, going to consume AP. So that would be what AP is used for.
That's really cool. Nice. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no.
I'm listening.
Aggression on the lower side would give you higher defense power. Defense power is basically armor, toughness, and potentially, this is a discussion we're also having internally about how to handle this. So defense power could be potentially used as sort of a boost on, like if we eventually introduce spells, for example, like a healing spell, it could potentially be used for that as well. So if you have higher defense power, potentially your healing spell would be more potent. That's not really confirmed though. Currently, it's just for armor. And on the other side, action speed or attack speed, basically it's going to be like a determiner of how often how fast your Gotchi's attacking is. So there might, like the animation for your attack might be a little bit slower if you have lower action speed, and a little bit faster if you have higher action speed. Kind of like the cooldown between how often you can shoot or swing your weapon.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna pass.
Yeah, so spookiness is on the low side. You have regen, HP, and AP, which is pretty standard. Well, your Gotchi will have its own base rate of regen, but this will just increase that rate significantly as you get higher and higher up. And on the other side is ethereality, which is kind of a multi-layered trait. It's more akin to kind of luck. And what that will do is your Gotchi will have like a base layer of like how lucky it is, which could affect things like opening a treasure chest or smashing a baddie, a liquidator. You might get something extra from it if you roll, and also things like critical strike and evasion, which by default Gotchi do not have evasion or critical strike, but if they have like a wearable equipped that's gonna boost their critical strike. For example, like it might give you 5% chance of a crit. Then your ethereality trait would boost that even more. So it might be if you have like 10% more, it might go up to 6%, or if you have 20% more, it might go up to 7%. So it's kind of a situational trait, but you will get a boost to your lucky drop kind of thing. So that's spookiness. It's kind of a wild card trait.
I
And
like it.
finally,
I like the spookiness. It's almost like the gotchiness of the gotchi, you know.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's
I like it.
yeah, it's a wild card. This is kind of the trait that most games don't have. They have like, agility and strength and intelligence. They don't really have like uh, this kind of wild card fourth trait. So that's kind of one of the innovations of the Gotchi system. And
Should there
finally, on
be,
the okay,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, in regards to ethereality, should there be like a lock picking ability for certain items? And then you can like lock pick, like let's say you don't have access to a certain guild, but you're able to you have a very high ethereality Aavegotchi and you have the right item, so you might be able to you know, sneak around a little bit.
Yeah,
That sounds suspicious.
Dust Butterfly is going to be all over that. Yeah, for sure. And so finally, the last one is brain size on the low side. Small brain, you're going to have more melee power, which will affect any attack or spell that is melee. And then on the high side, you're going to get more ranged power, which will affect any attack that is ranged or any spell that is ranged and damages. So those are the four changes, and eye shape. Those are to be confirmed. Those will be part of another discussion, but they wanted to get these four confirmed as soon as possible. So if you guys want to get that passed, you like the changes, feel free to go and vote here on the snapshot. And of course, if it does get to core prop and the core prop, well, even if it doesn't pass, you'll still get XP for your Gotchi by voting. So definitely go vote.
Yeah, I went and I put my vote in. So yeah, that's really cool. I really like how this set of traits for me as a just a casual gamer, this is actually a lot more easier for me to understand and is a lot more in line with a lot of other similar kind of games that I've played. So it's going to be a lot easier, I feel, to pick up on this model compared to the last model where there would be a lot more technical analysis involved with gauging an Aavegotchi for a specific task, and this kind of levels the playing field a little bit for movement speed. It still allows certain Aavegotchis to have an advantage over others if they have the right traits. But at least we're not going to have like a molasses slow moving
Yeah.
Aavegotchi that can carry like 2 tons of Alchemica. Like to me, that didn't seem like a very playable character, even though it'd make for some fun situations in the grid, but in the Citadel, maybe nobody wants to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that takes care of that in a sense with the AP, because now it's like if you're like conservative with the way you move, you might actually be able to move very efficiently, even though your Gotchi doesn't have the best AP capacity. If you use it sparingly or you don't drain your AP too fast, you might be able to move efficiently to where you need to get to.
Yeah, and like if you have high HP, you'd be able to sprint there. You'll be zooming. Like if you get a road and you start sprinting, like you're gonna move fast. You're gonna be zooming.
So when you have a trait that goes to 99, is that does the ability of the trait get maxed out at 99? Or like for example, if I have
Mhm.
a Gotchi that has like a 110 energy,
Mhm.
like is that going to move a lot faster, like a godlike speed compared to the 99?
It will definitely continue increasing as it goes higher and higher. It will not be exponential, so it's not like one point will not give you exponentially more than the previous point. Probably the best we can hope for is that it would be linear, although it might potentially be, you might have diminishing returns as you go like past, basically like the first point could have the most effect, and as you get more and more points, you still get more bonus, but it might go, that bonus might get smaller and smaller. That would be diminishing returns. For example, for armor, like you have to have diminishing returns. You can't have it go up linearly, because if you do, that then you get a Gotchi with 100% armor, and it's invincible. So armor is a great example of a trait that you can't go linear on. But for something like HP or AP, those could probably just be linear. And so the difference between 99 and 100 would be the same as the difference between 100 and 101, and so on.
That makes sense. That's cool. I'll definitely have like a 105 or a 110 just to see how fast I can move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are the traits. Definitely everyone go vote on those. Answer a couple more questions here. So we got win raffle. That's got a question from Kezbizazel. Win raffle. It's really up to the community at this point. We are shipping the Bible. We're gonna try to get chapter 4 shipped this month. There is a ton of things. Everyone loved chapter 3. This is probably even more ambitious than chapter 3. There's a ton of work that's going into this chapter on the game balancing side. So we will try to get that to you guys this month. But if we're not totally happy with it, we might have to delay a couple days, because we don't want to put out something that we're not really happy with. Although the work is going really well. And so the raffle, it's really up to the community at this point. We can do, if you guys would prefer, we can do a core prop and basically set it in stone that the next raffle for like the next Gotchiverse parcel auction / raffle will be when the community wants it. Although, we could potentially have some smaller raffles, like and it won't be for wearables most likely, but it could be, for installations or for tiles. But those are mostly going to be directed towards Alchemica at the beginning, because we're going to have some really, really cool stuff for you guys for the initial play drop to Alchemica that's going to be coming. You can diamond hands the Alchemica, or you'll be able to convert it into some very, very nice future installations that are going to kind of cement your status as OGs.
What I'm imagining right now is some kind of a really cool founder's statue or something. I'd be like, damn, that would be cool to have on my property.
Pretty much, man. Yeah, it's gonna be. It should be. We're gonna be posting the announcement for that most likely early next week. It's so lit.
Oh dang! So for this Alchemica drop, is there a specific amount that you guys are dropping over like a certain amount of time, or is it just all just raining down all at once?
It is a specific amount, and it's going to be dropped over the entirety of this kind of alpha, public alpha period. So we've estimated it to last about 30 days. That's how much Alchemica we're planning to play drop during this time. Could be more, probably won't be less. But it's a decent chunk of Alchemica for sure. It'll be very nice to be walking around picking that up.
I'm just gonna live at my desk for like a couple days. Just like sleep on the floor, like right here, throw a pillow down and
Get a bucket.
get a napkin once in a while. It makes me wonder though with play to earn games, right? Because this was like a couple stories that I read like many years ago about like these guys in I can't remember. I think it was in Japan or something, and it was like not common, but it would happen from time to time. Someone would be stuck in a cafe playing for so long that they
Mm.
would like dehydrate themselves to death.
Yeah, please,
who
please
died
don't. I
playing.
mean, if you like, the reason we have Gotchi lending is so you can get some sleep and hand your Gotchi off to someone else in another time zone so you can get well rested. Like you should find a buddy if you guys are really want to like do the play drop seriously, find a buddy in another time zone and just like split the Alchemica with that person because then you can both sleep well at night. You could make a whitelist on the Gotchi lending just for that person, and you could say, okay, we're gonna share this Gotchi. You guys are gonna take shifts. So I mean, if you have 30 Gotchis, then it becomes a little bit more problematic. But if you only have one Gotchi, then you could do that. Find a buddy.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I like that because we all kind of know somebody at this point on the other side of the world. So why
Hmm.
not kind of collaborate with them, right? That's
Hey,
cool.
and you can do it trustlessly. Yeah, I mean, there doesn't have to be any trust involved. It's just like, okay, we got this rental contract. The only you'd want to automate it a little bit. Well, let's see. Uh, yeah, it'd be a little bit complex because you'd have to basically pass it like a football back and forth to each other. Uh, the other option would be you could make a burner wallet that only you and that other person have the keys to, and you could share the Gotchi with that wallet for a very long period of time, and then uh, each of you could play the game with only that wallet, so you'd have access to it during that time, and you could split the Alchemica 50-50. That would be one kind of another trustless
Yeah,
way to do it.
yeah, that's really cool. That would be a
And
cool
your
way to
Gotchi
do it.
can't get rugged, right? You can't get rugged because it's this wallet, even this burner wallet, doesn't own the Gotchi. It's just renting it. So the wallet couldn't transfer that Gotchi. Like if someone hacked your wallet or got your private key, it wouldn't be able to steal the Gotchi from you because it's only being borrowed by that wallet.
Oh, that's right. Because it's kind of like it's not the primary holder. The smart contract would still say, okay, well, Coder Dan owns this
Hmm.
Gotchi, so therefore it's not going like it ain't going anywhere else besides back to his wallet.
Yeah,
So you guys
yeah,
can
it
do
can't
whatever
be
you want.
transferred. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna have a cool way. Kudos to Bearded for supplying a nice suggestion, which is you'll be able to even so. Let's see if I can explain it right. So you're the original owner, but you want to have the profit go to another wallet, which is not your wallet, but it's another wallet. So when you create the lending the listing, you'll be able to set where you want your share of the Alchemica to go, and the borrower will also get their share, and then you can have a third party share as well. So that's going to open up some cool composability as well. So this way, the Gotchi Vault will be able to do like they'll be able to automate trustless lending, and they'll be able to send the Alchemica directly to the owner of the Aavegotchi instead of to the Gotchi Vault. So this is super cool. Like the Gotchi Vault and their team is working directly with the guilds to discuss what kind of features the guilds want, and then they're kind of relaying them back to us, and we can help implement these kind of last minute improvements before the feature goes live.
That's
But
really
yeah,
cool.
find a buddy. Maybe we need a channel or something in the Discord for Gotchi sharing.
Yeah,
A
I
little.
think so. It's a good idea.
How long? When Gotchi Tinder?
Seriously, yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's totally trustless, and yeah, the idea I was saying earlier, where you could have a burner wallet that you both of you share, and the Alchemica you could share it between both of you, basically trustlessly. The Gotchi would be in that wallet. You guys could both play it, or however many people you want to play it, and it would work best with two, but you could do it with three as well. Three people could potentially share a Gotchi. And
I'm
it
sure a lot
would
of the
be
guilds are
trustless.
gonna love that feature.
Hmm.
And like
Yeah.
so like some guilds they're thinking about sharing some of the profits among guild members who are going out and getting a buddy. Like that's another way to think about it. If you're able to go and get another friend to rent out some of the guild gotchis, maybe there's an incentive for the guild member. So that it's kind of cool how the contract allows for all these different arrangements, and it's all built in.
Yeah. This is the decentralized future. Hey, Bearded, what's an average guild gonna be taking for their third party? I'm very curious on what their. Do we have any figures or know anything from the guilds on what they're planning to use for the third party profit split?
Third party meaning sorry, go
So
ahead, Yannick.
basically,
I know he probably has data on it.
I would expect like 0.5% or like 1% or something. Like not anything. You can't get away with too much, right?
I mean, YGG, what? Don't they take like 30%? Yeah,
So
way more than that.
yeah, so no, I mean, like from talking to YGG, they were saying 30% for them is like on the high end. I think they take closer to like 10 or 15
Mhm.
from there because they get
We plan to
primarily
take
just
5%.
sorry, go ahead.
We plan to take 5%.
Yeah.
It's actually
So
cool because with the model of like the scholar, there's a lot more middlemen involved and a lot more management, so it makes sense that the cut would be higher. But as more guilds come in and it gets more competitive, that guild percentage will actually get lower and lower. It'll probably go down to like maybe to 5%, 3 or 4 to 5% would be
there's
much
this
better for the scholar.
there's this concept that the YGG guys brought up, to me when we were having that call, and it was like one of the concerns, like one of the reasons why play to earn games possibly get flack is from this false deception that it's like a sweatshop labor thing, that workers basically in third world countries are getting extorted. And this is not true, first of all, but it's just an image that, some normie people have of NFT gaming. And so to avoid, adhering to any kind of image like that, like big guilds like YGG, they want to give the player the primary earning capabilities when they're renting these assets, because what they see is trying to keep the player within the ecosystem. So if they can get the player earning and moving up the ladder, the whole idea is that they don't stay scholars, right? Eventually, they become asset owners, and the best way to do that is to make sure that they're, getting a fair cut for their play, and then even a little bit extra on top, and then that way they're able to actually move up the ladder, so to speak. That was like my take. That's what my takeaway from how they're thinking about this.
Like, what happens to a scholar? How like do they end up somehow joining the guild as being more than just a scholar, but actually like an investor in the guild? Like, how do you move up the ladder in a guild?
So I mean, they have. It's interesting how they've done it, and I also see Bearded has his hand up there. Actually, let's we can get him. I don't have the ability to get him up on
Yeah,
stage.
it's right there, sir. Here you go.
Oh, hey guys.
Hey,
Hey,
Bearded. I was gonna say something and then I forgot, but it'll come back to me.
just like what's the model of a guild? Like, how do they move from scholar up to what's a step above a scholar?
I can't remember the term for it, but you be in the like they have two separate things where you're like a community member or you are a scholar, and then they have roles within that. So they have like a whole like kind of hierarchy structure. It is, there are multiple levels to it, and then they have game ambassadors, and their game
Oh,
ambassadors go out and find all these different games. And then what they're doing is they're actually tokenizing a lot of their assets that they're buying in these games, and they're taking the tokens like the YGG token, and then they're distributing that to their players basically for
hmm.
compensation. But I feel like with Aavegotchi, it might be a little bit different because they're going to be earning Alchemica, so there's a split there, and I'm not really sure exactly how they plan to do that in Aavegotchi, but I know other games, that's what they do.
Yeah, Bearded, do you have any like interesting perspectives on that? With you, you guys have been dealing a lot with the guilds, even more than we have.
Yeah, I mean, I know Dr. Wagme he's been sort of the point person on interfacing with the guilds. But yeah, I think as people were talking about in the chat, the kind of the default split from Axie is more of like a 70-30, 80-20. And of course, and that includes, in their model, you've got the 30%, right, that's going to the guild. That includes the payment to the guild and the guild also being the asset manager, right? Whereas in our system, to Yannick's point, right, Yannick's saying they're going to charge a 5% fee. That's 5%. That's the asset manager, right? Or the asset owner.
Right.
They're the asset owner. But then the
Just
guild
the third
comes
party.
in. Right, but then the guild comes in also as the sort of player manager, and they want to take their cut as well. So I think in that's, if Yannick was renting to a guild, Yannick would charge 5%, and then the guild and the player would split the remaining 95%, however they wanted to split it up. What we hope to do with Gotchi Vault is build on top of your guys' lending protocol, and we'll be storing on chain for each guild. And when I refer to guilds, I'm thinking more about player focused guilds. Rather, right? We have a lot of asset focused guilds in our internal ecosystem, where we have community members who own a lot of assets. When I think about guilds, I'm thinking about like YGG or CGU, which is more player focused. But we'll be able to store on chain in our lending smart contract, basically the settings for each of the guilds that they'll be able to tell us, this is what we want our splits to be. And then we'll be able to allocate different gotchis that are in the Gotchi vault to different guilds. We'll store that on chain. And then basically, anytime that we cycle through all the gotchis in the vault and see, okay, this gotchi needs to be lent out, they're affiliated with, with CGU, go to the CGU settings, grab the CGU whitelist, and make a rental. And so it should be mostly and optimally, and we're excited to roll that out.
Yeah, it's crazy levels of composability here. Super
Yeah,
exciting.
I mean, it's so cool that we can build into the Gotchi Vault smart contract, our own functions that call your guys' lending functions, and store our own like settings and everything, and then have a fairly simple, bot that is just kind of similar to the petting bot that is just cycling through all the gotchis, checking to see if they're ready to be lent out, and then just pulling the settings and sending out the transaction. It's super cool.
What would be cool is if you guys built a way for like a seller financing like arrangement to exist, where you have like terms that change like based on the like whoever's got the borrowing the gotchi and then like participating with it or whatever. Like they can have they get the split right, and maybe they have to have like so much of a balance because they're getting drained all the time for their interest, and of course their position would get liquidated if like they don't make good on how much of a ratio they're supposed to maintain. But I think that would just be like a really interesting way for guilds to have like growth opportunity within themselves. Like maybe the split is like less attractive to start. Maybe it's like 20-80. Like you're only taking 20% of what you make home, but like eventually you're gonna be able to own that thing. Like you already have a price for it.
A lease. Yeah.
And rent to own kind of.
Yeah, I mean you could do it trustlessly, like super easily actually.
But our assets are all owned by individual users, so like I can't sell somebody else's Aavegotchi for them.
No, but like they would you know, it could just be a marketplace for it, right? Like you have a price for your Gotchi, and somebody can come in and you know, like enter the lending arrangement where
I see.
the split's like really, you know, it's less favorable than the other one, but like at the end of it, there's the arrangement where like it could be good for from an investment standpoint to just like have a nicer rate and get your get your Gotchi bought from you. Like, you know, you get your cash out from it. I mean, it's just
Right, like
different
like
strategy.
if the floor
Yeah.
price is 400, somebody comes in and says, "I'll pay you 600 over the next, 2 months,
Yeah.
by exclusively borrowing your Gotchi until it's paid off."
Mm-hmm. Something like that. And then like you got to be putting so much of the alchemica that you're obviously making like into the smart contract even to, or else like you wouldn't even be considered quote making payments, and then like, you know, the arrangement would have to get dissolved somehow.
The only reason why that, like, for me, from a seller perspective, that wouldn't be attractive is because it would probably take the person a while to pay off
Yeah.
their debt, and you know, let's say the floor price of Aavegotchi is like doubles or triples in the
Right.
in the 3 months that happens.
No, you're right. I'd say I mean, it's like it's two sides of the same coin, right? Because you get it's a hedge. Like maybe you don't do it with all your stuff if you got, you know, more than one, or it's, I mean, it's just in different environments it's going to perform differently than the other arrangement, right? Because let's say the floor price of Gotchis doesn't go up, like then you've already sold your Gotchi,
Right.
or you know maybe they can't keep payments on it or whatever, you know, whatever happens. It's just, I think it would be a cool tool for people to have. I think that it, and of course with blockchain you can do everything just as a smart contract where third parties show up and do it on their own behalf, right? Like it doesn't even have to be for every kind of investor. I'm not saying it's something like you guys should prioritize. I just thought it would be interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. We've got a lot on our plate right now.
Oh, I'm sure, man. It's like it's the world's an open oyster. It's just whether or not you have like the bandwidth to do it before someone else does for a lot of these things.
We're so far ahead of the curve here. Like, even if you don't, you probably have 6 months before anyone would even like think of doing that. You guys were so far ahead of the curve on like Chi Dao and the V Chi and all that.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
Yeah, that really has started taking off in the last couple weeks. Like we got in on the right time. We got in at the right time with with making our own version of Liquid Chi. I think in the next couple weeks it'll be really apparent all the sort of synergies in play between what we're doing with the protocol owned liquidity for Vici and having the VGhost vault is going to just continue to have really high APR, and yeah, it's an exciting time. We're getting like 350% APR right now on our loans on the Cheetah vault, meaning that you borrow backed by your VGhost and Cheetah pays you 350% APR, which is just like would not happen anywhere else in the world.
And the price of cheese, it's holding up pretty well. It's like $1 now. That's great.
It keeps going up. I mean, they amazingly rebounded from this. You know, they had the incident with it wasn't their fault. It was
Superfluid, right?
Yeah, Superfluid. They had all of their vested chi for the team was in Superfluid, and they got wrecked. Like 19 million chi dumped on the market. So the price of their token dropped like 80%, and now it's rebounded all the way back in very short time. So they've been holding up really well. I think they and I think like our project, and there's a couple other forms of liquid chi, I think is only going to help them, because we are locking, like when people mint Vici with chi, it gets locked up for 4 years. So they already have like 50% of all chi is locked up, meaning it obviously can't be sold. And most of it's, I think the average time is like 2.5 years. So they're just going to increasingly have more and more chi locked in these contracts, which means that there's just less to sell. So it could be. I think we'll see. And they also, this was like dropped kind of quietly, but they just got a Chainlink Oracle, which
Oh, nice.
the next
Okay.
step for
We
that
know
is,
what's going to happen there.
yeah, could see them on like Aave soon. So
Now
yeah, it's
we're
exciting.
talking.
It's exciting to see big things happening for, like, in my mind, I consider like Aavegotchi and Cheetah were the two projects that I got in on, a year ago, with Polygon. They're like two of the OG Polygon projects, so it's been great to see both of them doing really well recently.
Switch gears here, guys, for the second hour. So we're going to be finalizing this DAO Treasury Task Force extension. The next week we'll be posting the snapshot for this, and so looks like, if I count up how many people have responded here, 3, 4, got about 9 or 10 responses, so maybe a little bit more than that. So that's should be sufficient, and so we will make a snapshot with all the participants here, and we'll have a little mini election. And so, if you're interested in being on the DAO Treasury Task Force Extension multisig, this is going to be a multisig that really the main purpose of it will be to hold a very significant chunk of the vested Alchemica that are for ecosystem, basically the protocol liquidity of the GACs. And we as Pixelcraft are really trying to move away from having assets like these under our control, because this year we really want to move towards more of a decentralized governance. So we believe it's a great first step to get these under the community, but they are quite significant. So 15 multi-sig signers is necessary for everyone's security, and so we will be getting that multi-sig set up once the vote has concluded, and bring on the new friends into the DTF. So if you are interested in being on this multi-sig, won't really be. I don't anticipate there being a lot of action. Basically, whenever we want to add liquidity to the GACs or to another DEX, or potentially for exchange listings as well. If there could be a situation where we as Pixelcraft say, hey guys, we wanna list on a very well-known exchange that starts with B, but we as Pixelcraft didn't give ourselves an allocation of these tokens, and typically the exchanges want some sort of liquidity supplied directly during the listing, so they have tokens. And so that would be one example. We might come to the DTF and say, hey, is the community interested in getting listed for these tokens? If so, we need this much, which is not used typical for marketing. It's typically just used for seeding the liquidity on the exchange. Some of the times they might just buy it from the open market, but sometimes they might do OTC. Sometimes they just request that we seed liquidity. So depends really on the exchange. So DEXs or centralized exchanges would both be potential avenues for these tokens. So yeah. If you guys are on it, I see Choina has a question. Yeah, basically it's a pretty lightweight multi-sig, but really just want people who are committed to the community, who are in this thing for the long term, and so they're not just gonna kind of ghost us, and when we need them won't be able to sign. So great, I got three new responses. Just this little pitch. It's very cool. Another thing is, what do you guys think of the play drop hashtag? That was a kind of a cool idea we had last night as we were thinking of a great tweet for that video. And kind of there's all these like airdrop, especially with ape token, airdrop everywhere. And we had this cool idea. We are kind of doing an airdrop, but it's not just going directly in your wallet. You have to pick it up. So it's a play drop. What do you guys think of that hashtag? If you like it, we'll probably continue using it in more and more tweets and stuff.
That's a
It's
good
pretty neat.
idea. I think that it's cool. I think the idea of like you're talking about having exclusive items available for people
Mhm.
participating, in the first, inaugural time period, whatever you want to call it. But I think the idea of having that available to people that like rent a Gotchi and like maybe don't even own it and just like go in the game and
Mhm.
get, their play drop and can be part of the experience. I think that's a good marketing like sell, like, hey, come get your play drop, like try out our thing. And, you can
Yeah.
lend, you don't even have to buy one.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, it's cool because there's a proof of work element in it. It's like, yeah, we're gonna technically airdrop all these tokens to everybody, but you you gotta participate. And I like how that's been kind of a core part of Aavegotchi since the start. Is you have to participate, and even to maintain the value of your Aavegotchi, if you have a high kinship Aavegotchi, it shows that you're participating at like the base level. I mean, maybe not now as much because you have like a lot of bot petting, but at the start, like when none of that was there, when there was no bot petting, you
Yeah.
had to kind of stay on top of your petting for like at least the first couple months before that came out, right? So it's always kind of been a part of the thing to participate, and so yeah, it makes sense. It's in line with Aavegotchi's ethos, I'd say.
Yeah. We invented the play drop, guys. As Gravy said, I don't know if he's here in the hangout. He posted on Twitter that he got the snapshot for the time that it was created. So when people go back in the Twitter timeline, they will see Aavegotchi created the play drop. It is cool. And it really unlocks a lot of really cool things we can do. Like one of the cool parts about the partner parcels that we have with like YGG or CGU, Blackpool, they're actually gonna, like, we did a token swap with them to do those parcels, and so we definitely expect in the future we can do play drops of their tokens within their partner parcels and like create experience around them that people can actually play the game and pick up their token, like get a token as a reward. So we're creating a system for that kind of gameplay. It's gonna be really neat. Oops, did I just drop some alpha there?
I mean, I feel like that's been talked about a little bit before, but it's not like something that's well distributed.
Yeah, I mean, we do have something. I haven't really talked even internally. We really haven't talked about it that much because we've just been so focused on getting the core gaming system, stable and secure. But we have a huge chunk of ghosts just sitting around, kind of waiting for the game to be live over this period of time. And so potentially we could do some cool ghost play drops as well with all the funds that came from the auctions. There's a lot of ghost just sitting in those wallets ready for play drops.
Yeah, I
What do
like the idea
you?
of like, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Dan, what do you think about? Because this was something I had thought about in the past in terms of lending. So, you know, rarity farming drops go into Argotchi's pockets, and that makes them susceptible to those rarity funding rewards being taken as part of the lending process. What do you think about having like an in-game wrapper of Ghost that is a different token that basically you pick up, wrapped Ghost,
Mhm.
and that way with the lending process you can differentiate between, okay, I want to allow for a split of the in-game earned Ghost, but I don't want to allow
Right.
for you to take my rarity farming rewards.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. We will, by default, the ghost option will be disabled, especially at the beginning when we're first getting started here, because we're not anticipating there will be a lot of ghost or any ghost for this first month. It's all about the Alchemica this month. But as we do mature, we'll definitely have like ghost play drops as well. And yeah, it might make sense if people don't want to share their Rarity farming Alchemica, they might want to have like a wrapped version of Ghost. That's a good idea.
That would probably make tracking like in-game collection easier also, since you don't have to worry about separating out the rarity farming ghost versus the in-game ghost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good idea. So yeah, play dropping is gonna be big. So let's see. Went through my DAO proposals. If you guys weren't here at the beginning, we were talking a little bit about AM Ghost and why that guy got delayed. Basically, it's ready to go, and we were literally 30 minutes away from deploying it, and then got the signal from the Aave team that V3 had just been launched, and there was a new V3 AM Ghost token, and so we were like, should we just launch with V2 or should we put a little bit, delay a little bit and wait to kind of work through the changes that were coming from V3, which there weren't really many changes, but it did break one of our contracts, so we're kind of looking into how to fix that right now. It's quite a big change from the Aave side, which they told us in advance, but this is how these things go.
Thanks,
so
Mark.
Hopefully next week. I wish he had told me that the incentives controller was gonna drastically change. I mean, the interface for that contract kind of changed. So yeah, that's the way these things go. So we will try to get that out this week. We just need to figure out how to handle the new incentives controller on their side.
Yeah, you lost me at incentives controller.
Yeah.
That's for like if Matic incentivizes liquidity, right?
Yeah. It used to be only one token, I guess, like one token per a token, and now I guess incentive controller supports a bunch of different tokens. I don't know. We were talking about it last week and trying to figure out what they changed.
Would that be similar to like, with Balancer, you can like individual projects can incentivize their pools. So like on the for Chi-DAO, like if you deposit Mai, you get Chi and Balancer token. I guess maybe Aave's.
Yeah, I think
that you
so.
could do
I think
something like that. Yeah.
because right now they just support like one token, like Matic token. I think they want to support a bunch of different tokens, like any token. And so they updated their incentives controller, which broke our smart contract. Ran the test and a lot of red, so we had to kind of looking into that.
Well, it'll be exciting, like day 1 or day 2 when you guys get that up and running. We're gonna move all of the Gotchi Vault Ghost into Aave, so it'll be immediately like $5 million worth of liquidity on Aave, which will
Awesome.
it'll be great between that, and then I think there was a proposal to add liquidity from the DAO treasury. I mean, we'll probably have like $10 million or more of liquidity, which should open up some interesting possibilities around. You could imagine around auction time, if you have other assets, you can just borrow Ghost against your other assets.
Yeah.
Do the GBM auction, try to make 5 or 10%, and then pay it back. 3 days later. It'll be really cool.
Would you? I mean, I guess it is a decision we should probably make as a community. Because we could go with V2. It is the tried and true protocol. There's been no hacks. Obviously, not anticipating any hacks with V3, but it is very new code. So, if we wanted to fast track it, we could just do V2 for the AM Ghost, and then maybe a couple months later, we could update the pool, create a new pool, or potentially by that time we might even have like glitter, or who knows? But we could create a new pool in the Ghost staking contract with V3.
Did you make Wham Ghost upgradable so that you could just migrate it
No,
over?
you'd have to exit and then come back in. You
Like
have to
for our
basically. Mhm.
so like for our token, it's upgradable, and we're just doing like I'm like for vGhost, right? We're just upgrading with basically a migrate function that you'll just call, and then it'll move
Right.
it'll move the underlying asset. So you should, I mean, I would think you'd be able to do that with WAM Ghost, right? That you could just upgrade it
Mhm.
and have a migration function that would exit v2 and enter v3.
Yeah, we might. I mean, we probably could make it a proxy. It isn't at this moment because it's just more proxies to manage and more upgrades to manage. It's just its own token right now. It's not a proxy. Yeah, potentially could do that, but you'd still need to exit it from the ghost staking and re-stake it into the new pool on our ghost staking contract. Well, yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. Instead of, yeah, we'll have a think about it. Not really something I wanted to think about this week because we have so many other things going on. I wish they hadn't done
Yeah,
that,
for sure.
but it's cool that they launched V3. That's awesome. So it's definitely good for the whole space.
Yeah, I'm excited for the E lending. Should be pretty cool.
Yeah. Maybe they'll launch some more protocol incentives.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, I'm sure Matic and Aave have, some plans for how they're gonna unroll some more of their ecosystem like funds. But who knows when that's gonna be?
I have a question about so on launch here. From my understanding, that it's going to be like a full. You guys refer to a term, minimum viable game (MVG). I think was the term. So what are some of the things that when we start, like the first week of the Gotchiverse, what are some of the things people will be able to do? Like
So
there's gonna be the
yeah.
Alchemica collecting, but are people gonna be able to build like harvesters? Are there gonna be installations enabled, or is that gonna be like another second phase launch?
Yeah, to get out something in March, we had to basically move those to the next release, which was slated for April. And so what you'll have when you initially come in during March or like March 31st and then throughout April is basically it's going to be an Easter egg drop where it's just going to be Alchemica in 3 different sizes, which they come in 1, 5, and 25. And so you just walk around and find Alchemica, pick it up, and it's it won't be the most exciting thing, although it is going to be pretty cool when you stumble across a 25 and you pick that up. I mean, I played it; it's pretty exciting. It's pretty awesome. So you'll get your carrying capacity. Basically, just keep searching for Alchemica. It's going to pop up every couple minutes, and so you can wait around for it to pop up, or you can run around and search for it. And during that period, yeah, we'll be dropping a very, very significant amount of Alchemica, which you can harvest and take back to the withdrawal station, the Vortex, bring it off chain, and then there will be some installations that you can. Well, there'll be one installation that you can craft, and there's also going to be some very, very cool looking OG tiles that you'll have for your parcel that you can also craft.
Laying down the groundwork. I love it.
OG
Good.
tiles. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean these OG tiles, like they're going to be very limited time. The way we're doing it here is so none of these have there's no fixed quantity of how many can be minted. Really, all the biggest limiter is how much Alchemica is going to be dropped in the game. So especially for the tiles there, we don't really know how many there will be at the end. That's how all the crafting will work. Generally, we're not going to enforce like a max quantity of how many of something can be created, because if you do that, then it leads to first come first serve, which we're really trying to avoid. And so that's why we called it crafting, because you can within the period of time allocated towards that craft, you can craft it. And if you miss it, then you missed it. But however many are crafted during that period of time is how many will exist. And then after that crafting period is over, that installation is deprecated and can't be crafted anymore forever. So that's kind of why these tiles and installation will be so special, because you will never be able to craft them again.
Dang, that's crazy. Could we get a? Is it possible to get like a teaser? Like, what do these tiles look like? Because I'm kind of curious to know. Or is that something we have to wait for?
Yeah. What do you think, Zbot? Should we drop one, or
I
should we
think you
hold
should drop
off?
a teaser.
Or should we wait? Maybe drop a corner. How about you just drop a little corner?
Just a sneak peek.
Just a tiny
A
little
corner.
bit.
Show us a corner. Come on. Show us your corner.
I also want to shout out Master Yang just dropped an art piece in the chat, some Gotchi art that was created by a well-known artist, like another NFT artist, Dark Farms. He dropped it there in the chat. It's pretty dope looking piece. He has like these little the way he did the little gotchis, they all have
Yeah.
like this little personality to them. I like the raffle too. The way he did the raffle. It's kind of a neat.
Jordan is
Yeah.
teasing us with loading.
Yeah.
It's not real. Don't fall for it, guys.
But yeah, the tiles are pretty sick, and definitely the installation. It's gonna be pretty mind blowing from what I've seen. All right, Gbot's getting the corner.
May I ask a
Because
question
tiles.
regarding
Yes,
Gotchiverse?
go ahead.
Will traits affect your Gotchi, for example, speed in this first version?
No, they won't. None of the traits have been implemented yet within the game. Everyone's going to be the same speed, same carrying capacity, same health, everything.
Cool.
Yeah,
We're
it's really a
identical for now.
minimum viable game here. We're trying to get out as much as we can as safely as possible. You know, without with is kind of rolling out the features as we do in a kind of iterative way. But I was going to say, for those of you who don't know about the tiles, basically a tile is it's a layer on top of the parcel, but under the installation. So you can equip an installation on top of a tile, and the tile rests on top of your parcel. So where you have the normal, like the purple grid, it'll be basically on top of that, and you won't see the grid underneath. So tiles are pretty neat. They're
So
like
it's
a
like
dance floor.
a fancy rug.
Yeah.
Are there going to
Yeah,
be different types of like different sizes of tile, or are there going to be like generally like a standard size?
for the ones that we'll be putting out for this round, I think they're all 8x8. They're all like the size of a humble parcel.
Gotcha. Oh, so if you have like a spacious, like you can arrange different tiles.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
have
that's very cool.
the tile is a whole separate grid. So you have your installation grid, which is on chain, and then you also have your tile grid, which is also on chain. So here we go.
Here we go. Let's
Oh wow,
see.
that really is a corner.
That's cool though. I get the idea of it. I get the idea behind it.
Nice.
Okay, that's
Tease.
dope.
And the interesting thing about tiles is when you equip an installation and you unequip it, you're basically burning that NFT. You like if it's like a reservoir or a harvester, even the limited edition one. Once you've equipped it, you can't unequip it without burning it. But with a tile, you can unequip it. You can move it around wherever you want. That's kind of another difference between tiles and installations.
Are the tiles going to be sellable? Are they going to be able to? Can you
Yes.
list tiles on the bazaar?
yeah, we will be adding those to the bazaar.
Cool. I know what I'm
Yeah.
going to be doing for that first week then. Be crafting tiles,
You can be farming tiles.
farming and crafting tiles.
Yeah, there's gonna be many. There's gonna be many humble Agotchis trying to do that. It'd be interesting if like what is there any limiting factor other than like how many resources can be gathered and want to be used to craft these things? I mean, like I guess there's an advantage to holding on to some of them and not crafting all of them out.
Yeah, there's it's kind of a strategy, you know. Do you want to spend your alchemica to craft these like super OG items that could potentially do very well, or if the game does well, there'll be some of the kind of like the agent wearable set or like the Santa hat, kind of these very OG items? Or do you hold on to the alchemica and save it for when the actual harvesters and reservoirs launch so that you can have like a head start on your parcel? That's kind of the decision. Would be a good game without strategy and different ways of playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder, which parcels I will be unwrapping and engaging with that. Well, I say unwrapping, but like what would be the term for that? I guess an
Oh, we're calling
opened
it
and an
surveying.
unopened parcel.
When you survey it, you're
Surveyed.
surveying your parcel like you would go for
Survey.
surveying oil, you're drilling it, seeing what's under
Yeah,
there.
so like unsurveyed parcel versus a surveyed. When are we gonna get to survey the parcels? Is that gonna be like a later, again, like a second phase kind of thing?
Yep. Yeah, that's going to
Yeah.
be the second launch, like in the public. That's really the full launch. This is really just kind of it's almost like a pre-launch where you guys who are already here will be able to pick up some alchemica, and we can people can get used to Gotchi lending, and just people can figure out their flow before the full game begins.
I like it. It's like a soft launch. It's like we're giving people a chance to get acclimated to setting up in the game because we have so many guilds and stuff that need to organize their operations. And then we're going like all out, we'll launch everything else.
And yeah, we're aiming to launch the GAX sometime in April. It should be fairly smooth, but we do want to have like a nice UI for the GAX, make it look cool. And so yeah, we're planning to launch that in April.
You're telling me you're trying to innovate on the literally every other single Dex's layout?
I mean, we're definitely gonna like work something and then kind of play with it a little bit. We're not gonna change
Yeah.
too much because there is a lot of complexity there.
Yeah.
One cool thing about the GAX is that the fees will be much lower than any other Dex because we don't really need to attract liquidity as much because we have this nice ecosystem vesting allocation. So they will be significantly lower than other dexes out there.
Nice.
And it's
Best
going to
place
take
to
some
swap.
time. Yeah, for Alchemica, it will definitely be the best place to swap for sure. And it'll take some time to get like linked up with like 1inch and some of these other different DeFi protocols. I'm sure like launching a DEX is not a simple thing, but we will try to move as fast as we can on it.
Yeah, that'll be cool. It'll be cool. Like you said, there's going to be a lot of strategy with this. Like whether you want to hoard your Alchemica and then do these LP positions where you're pairing it with Ghost, and then earning the glitter token, or alternatively, you're bolstering yield on your parcel by crafting with the Alchemica and then leveling up all your structures. And so I'm sure it's going to get very like there's going to be a lot of data collected and there's going to be people that create tools, but it's going to get like very analytical for some people who really want to decide. For me, like I don't know, personally I'm just going to be crafting stuff. Like I want to really like play the game, but then I'm also going to have, I'm going to do some LP stuff too because I want that glitter token. It seems like it's going to have a lot of uses in the game.
you're not going to want to be glitter poor.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Especially earlier on, I'd imagine the glitter rewards are going to be really good at the start, and then maybe later on, you might not get as much, right?
Yeah, for
There
sure.
might be some really healthy rewards at the start. Is it capped or is it unlimited? Like, what are the tokenomics? I guess you guys are still working on it, but is it going to
So
be like a limited scarce amount, or is it going to be kind of like the ghost token?
Glitter tokenomics. We should probably do a separate video on that one, but it is in chapter 3 at the bottom there, and there's I believe there is 1 trillion glitter. It's a cap supply again over a long period of time, like 30 years. But the reason we went with 1 trillion was we calculated out all the blocks that would be necessary to like build out I think it was the entire world. We calculated all the parcels and all the how a normal player, a normal rational player would play the game, and calculated out how many blocks they would need to spend their glitter on to like to achieve their goals. So not super logical. I mean, it definitely was a very um, rough analysis, but we felt that 1 trillion should be enough glitter because it will be burned. It's when you use it, it gets burned for that purpose. When you spend it to speed up your crafting, and so if we're burning it, we got to make sure that we don't run out of it like 10 years later. And so we did give it a pretty high amount based on the number of blocks that it would be shortening.
Well, I'd say that's more rational management than most, like 99.9% of fiat currencies. So, like, you guys are doing pretty good there, I'd say.
Even crypto projects, dude. What are you talking about?
Like, pretty much any shit coin's like better than like the best fiat token. So,
Yeah, pretty much.
anyway, I mean, that's that's my take on it anyway. But like, I think the way you guys have thought about the tokenomics has been like pretty thoughtful, especially 30 years. Like that just comes to show like how far out you're thinking about this, and maybe how many like iterations are going to be over top of the Gotchiverse. You know, like imagine 10 years from now when there's like a what the Gotchiverse is going to look like. Like, what is a
Yeah.
Citadel going to look like 10 years from now? Is it going to even look like the way it does now? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want to build like these MMORPGs. They never really die. It's just they're some of my favorite games are still going. So eventually we would love to get it to a point where the community is like even running the servers that we have set up, like a lot of these MMORPGs do, and we're just we kind of are part of the community in maintaining this game, and obviously pushing new features and things, but like it's redundant between multiple like regions and multiple groups within the community. And
I mean, the
there's no way
connection,
for it to die. It's on the blockchain.
yeah. I mean, the connection there, I mean, even for a game that's, alternatively not on the blockchain, like, I started playing this game, RuneScape, when I was quite young, and I still have my account from back then, and I sometimes go to my land that I made, like, built this house on my land, like, I was probably, like, 18 or 19 years old, and I can still go there and go, like, look at it and, like,
Yep.
interact with it. Because the game like still exists, and maybe not as many people engage with it, but you can still go back there and interact with these things you created in the past.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy to have the tools like we have now where like every user can even custody those things on like their own hardware. They can, show up to all these permissionless tools that just read their assets and write them however they signed the contract to do so with. It's definitely an interesting time, that's for sure.
I also like how deeply we've integrated blockchain into our game. Like, a lot of other projects are they're claiming to be like full Web3 projects, but they're not quite. I feel like they're not quite there in a lot of aspects. Um, and the way they use their token is kind of like more on a surface level, whereas we've really kind of fully integrated into like this like hopefully it's like a circular economy where people are earning and then they're reallocating their earnings back into the game to increase their earnings, and it creates this like a feedback loop. And so it's really cool how much thought's been put into that aspect.
Yeah, it's all to get like that value circulating to get a lot of work done, right? That's what economies want.
It's like that circle of win concept.
Yep. Virtuous
But
cycle. Yeah.
it makes me wonder how rarity farming is going to change going forward, or if it's going to change going forward. Because I know right now rarity farming is kind of a big part of that circle of win, but we're going to have these other aspects that come in as a part of that circle. And so, is there going to be some sort of rebalancing of how you earn in the game, or rarity farming rewards still going to stay the same, but it's going to be more exclusive? Like how do you see rarity farming going forward? I mean, not getting into specifics, but in a general sense.
I think the rarity farming as it is, it's pretty interesting, and I think it's there may be a good path forward for just continuing it as it is. But the way that Aavegotchis are ranked, I think that the way that they earn their kinship or their XP, that's the thing that's going to be changing. Because right now it's, as everyone knows, there's just petting bots petting for kinship, and XP is pretty cool. The way that it's done with the voting, and that's done amazing things for our voting. But once we have actual functional games that people can earn XP and potentially even kinship for playing, that will really kind of set the bar in and change the way that gotchis are ranked on the leaderboards, because you'd have more opportunity to actually interact with your gotchi, not just like petting it twice a day, but actually taking it out. And as you're adventuring around, maybe you do a quest that earns you kinship for that day, or you might just discover an XP potion while you're battling a monster. And so that would be another, if we wanted to keep rarity farming exactly like it is right now, we could just kind of improve on the mechanics that people are ranking their gotchas by.
There is one downside to rarity farming, is that it creates those boom and bust cycles, and people, some people can manipulate that, like buy variables, sell variables. That's why I personally not really liking it, because I think it's better to came up with some more gradual distribution loop.
Yeah, I mean, and
That's
it's
interesting.
also, it's a lot of ghosts to be giving out in a short period of time. So in that aspect, yeah, it's if we could find a more maybe, well, it's I don't know. I go back and forth. Sometimes I really like rarity farming and think it's like it's a cool mechanic, and there are plenty of downsides for sure to it. But and part of them is just it's a lot of ghosts to be giving out, and we have to think about where that ghost is coming from. Because right now trading fees is not really enough to support 1.5 million ghosts every few months. But
And within short period, you have this
yeah.
very active market within 4 weeks, but then little is happening. So
It has been very active. I think having the game live will help that market a lot as well. There'll be just more demand overall for wearables and
it is
gotchis.
already picking up very nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, more people like interfacing in any which way, like they're gonna want they're gonna want that like experience to change a bit. Like, they'll take one wearable, they'll sell it, they'll buy a different one, they'll just like change their look or whatever. I mean, it's just like the more things that there are for people to do, there's gonna just be more activity across the board.
I've noticed the portal sales are very slow. Is that just because, like, is there just less demand for portals or they're like the unopened portals are going back to almost 1,000 ghosts for some of them. They're kind of at like a 750 or 800 floor. But I remember before Haunt 2, they were at like almost 3,000 ghosts. Of course, Ghost was only $1, I think, at that time. So maybe the actual price is in fiat is almost the same.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
it is interesting.
it might have something to do with like the fact that there's no XP accrued and there's no kinship accrued on it, you know? Like it's a missed opportunity in that respect.
Yeah,
I could
it's
actually
expensive.
I kind of agree with that actually, because what I've been seeing in the bazaar is the value of gotchis with higher kinship have been you don't see as many gotchis on the floor with high kinship anymore, but that used to be very common. You would see
Yeah.
a gotchi there, maybe not the greatest BRS, but the kinship is high, and you'd see it sitting on the floor there for like weeks and weeks, sometimes even months. And now you don't see that as much anymore. So it seems like there's maybe some market making activity like going around, like kinship and XP specifically.
Yeah. I believe it. I see one kinship 74, BRS 528 selling for 789 ghost. And then above it, right above it, you have 410 kinship going for 1,088 ghost. So there seems to be a kinship premium, which is to be expected.
Yeah, I mean, it has the most to do with channeling.
In my opinion, the kinship and the XP values, and this is not financial advice or anything, it's just what I think. I think the kinship and XP hasn't really been priced in or valued in fully to the fullest extent yet, because nobody really knows what sort of yield is going to be expected, like in relation to those things. Once there's more data on it, I think I can expect that people will start pricing that into their value of their gotchis a little bit more when they're looking to sell it.
Yeah, what do you guys think happens if we launch Alchemica? I mean, it's impossible to say what's going to happen, but if Alchemica gets launched and our floor prices that we've discussed with the community are very, very conservative in my opinion. I mean, if they launch and immediately 10x, what does that do for the price of an Aavegotchi?
That would be a
Are you
lot.
talking about the price of Alchemica? Sorry, I missed
Yeah,
that.
like the FUD FOMO Alpha CAC prices, the prices we put in that we're going to launch them on quick swap with some floor prices, just because someone has to set a price on quick swap, otherwise someone's going to fat finger it and it's going to look stupid forever. But we're planning to create some initial token pairs like we outlined in the DAO thread, but we have to put a price for them, and so we are going to do it in 2 tranches. With the first one will be about $10,000 of liquidity, so it's not a lot of liquidity, but it'll be interesting to see what happens to the prices during that time. Does it all get sucked up? Like, what's going to happen? If it does, then that means that Alchemica is going to 10x. Like
Oh
very
wow,
quickly.
yeah, I didn't even think of that, but that's definitely something to consider. Yeah, because like the rate of earning in the Gotchiverse is also limited to what level your structure's at, and that's going to take a while to level up. So people who want to level up their structures might want to just go out into the market, buy up as much as Alchemica as they can, level up their structures, and then they've now bolstered the yield of their parcel. They've kind of leapfrogged like the process a little bit in a way, compared to like the organic, just like collecting and building.
Yeah.
So I could see there being a lot of demand for that.
Dr. Wagme made a good point that Alchemica will skyrocket instantly. Bots will guarantee it, and that's why yeah, you always use judiciousness when you're testing out buying and selling anything that's new as far as tokens go, in my humble opinion.
Maintain
The
like
bots
low
will do
slippage.
what the bots will do, and they do moon tokens. Any like new contract out there experiences this.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're not doing like an IDO or some things like that, which we could have, but I think those are generally more harmful than they are helpful. Like it's usually in a big event, and you get a bunch of our bots coming in and just like rugging everyone. It's MEV bots coming in. Usually is pretty nasty. So we're gonna kind of do a stealth launch where we get the Alchemica on there with fairly low liquidity, and we're not really encouraging people to add liquidity. It's really just to get a price of Alchemica, because QuickSwap won't be giving rewards. We're not even really interfacing with them. It's not really worth it, since we're planning to move to the GAX anyway.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. What is the initial price? The initial price is no matter what we put it at, it's not ideal. It's probably most likely it's just going to go up.
Yeah, well,
Just
the
because
free
there's so
market will
little
do its
liquidity.
price discovery over time, I guess.
Yeah. So Sam says, why the GAX instead of QuickSwap? It's a kind of a philosophical question. We really just want Aavegotchi to own all of the different aspects of our protocol, and we've had a good experience with QuickSwap. Their like syrup or dragon pools, whatever they call them, they kind of took rewards away from all tokens that didn't supply their own, like our own ghost token, to their pools. And so they haven't really, there's a general lack of support on Polygon for tokens in terms of liquidity, unless you do a token swap with them. We give them ghost, they'll give us their AP, like incentives, and so we don't really believe that's a very effective measure for getting liquidity for our tokens, and so we believe that we can compete against the DEXs, at least at a bare minimum, for our own economy tokens, by having our own DEX that the community owns. And if other projects want to come onto the DEX, onto the GAX as well, we won't turn them away, but the trading fees will be lower, and the LPs will not be receiving trading fees directly. They will receive the glitter token. Trading fees will also be going towards play to earn rewards that will be funneled directly back into the Gotchiverse. So it's a pretty cool. If you think about, in DeFi, there's this maxim: if you can't explain where the yield is coming from, you are the yield. And so we want, with the GAX, the GAX is a great way to help explain, at least partly, where some of this yield is coming from, because all the trading activity on the GAX is going to generate yield for the Gotchiverse. It's going to generate play to earn tokens. And so that's a pretty cool way of continuing kind of this virtuous cycle. There's very few protocols in crypto that actually generate real revenue for their users. Like Aave is a great example, because they have their flash loans and their liquidations. They take a cut of the borrowing, and they take the spread. We don't really do that, but we can take trading fees and in return give out the glitter token.
I like how you mentioned. I like how you mentioned that you might not turn other tokens away, but you might consider them if they're kind of participating to some degree. Like, what I think of when you say that is like YGG token, for example. If they wanted to get more involved, like get that token more involved as a part of what they're doing with their partner parcel in Aavegotchi and events that they're doing in Aavegotchi, then maybe like one of the YGG tokens is something that gets, listed on the GAX. Maybe there'd be a proposal or something around that. People have to vote for that. But it's interesting.
Yeah, generally we will prioritize our own own ecosystem's tokens, and also probably stable coins, just because everyone loves Alpine for stable coins, and it's a good entryway to have like Ghost Dai or Ghost USDC. And you can have Alchemica USDC and have a lot of there's a lot more volume for those kind of pairs. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. It's definitely we wanted to launch this DEX back when we initially launched on Polygon, but we just didn't have the manpower to do it. It's a big thing to do a DEX. But if we had, it would have been pretty cool to have our own DEX instead of having to rely on Polygon on QuickSwap. They've been great. They were great launch partners. But I think we are at the point where we have all these tokens. We need our own DEX. We need to kind of control our means of production.
You have so much
So-
more like ability. You just have so much more control, like that way, where you can prioritize your own ecosystem stuff.
Mhm.
Like, maybe it's no brainer. What were you saying, Hefe?
I was gonna say, how would people interact with the decks in the Gotchiverse?
Yeah, well, most likely we'll have like a pop-up, but initially you might just need to go to the DEX. But we'll definitely natively integrate it at some point.
I mean, that'd be cool if you kind of fork the decks somehow. And I think if I had like an NPC DApp on my parcel, then I would have like a kind of like a portal to access it. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So many possibilities when that SDK comes out.
I think I just the amount of creativity that puts in people's hands is pretty overwhelming.
I mean, on that note, I gotta run. I gotta go. I do like this online class every Saturday morning, so it's
All right.
right after this hangout. So it's been good. We talked about touched on a lot of good topics in here.
Yep, I'll
today.
probably get off too, guys. It's been a great hangout as always. Looking forward to having this hangout one day in the Gotchiverse, but also, yeah, as more friends come in, I think it's like once Gotchi lending kicks off, we're gonna be getting a lot more new players coming in. And if you guys have any ideas for videos that you would like to us to create on Gotchi U, kind of the official channel, feel free to post them in like the chat or DM us or anything. We trying to help the onboard a lot of the new players coming in. We're gonna get we're gonna get like kind of an onslaught of new players coming in, and we need to have good content. So if you guys think of any good areas that are really, really ripe for a video, feel free to let us know. Yeah, you can tag Thrax.
Cheers, guys. Good night.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Yep.
Have a great day.
Good
Great
night.
weekend.
Gotchi
Good
love.
day. See you soon.
Later.
Yep. Bye.